She whispered the words that would haunt her. "Don't hire him, Dad. He's black. It won't fit the brand." Little did Elena Hale know that the very man she rejected would become her salvation when darkness and panic consumed her in an abandoned stairwell. His strong hands and calming voice guided her breathing as her world collapsed around her, creating a forbidden connection that neither expected. As hotel heiress and security guard find themselves drawn together, a vengeful ex-boyfriend lurks in the shadows, camera in hand, determined to expose their growing relationship and destroy Marcus's reputation. Will Elena find the courage to choose love over image, to stand against her father's empire, to fight for the man who saw her at her weakest and never looked away? If you're watching this love story unfold, hit subscribe now and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Elena Hale's heels clicked against the polished marble floor of the Hale Regent Hotel. Morning sunlight streamed through tall windows, catching on brass fixtures and crystal chandeliers. The hotel had been in her family for 3 generations. Every inch of it felt like home. She pushed open the heavy door to her father's office, 15 minutes late for the security staff meeting. Her father, Richard Hale, looked up from behind his large wooden desk, his silver hair neatly combed. "Nice of you to join us, Elena," he said with a small smile. Elena nodded to Mrs. Perez from HR, who sat with a stack of folders. "Sorry, the front desk needed help with a VIP check-in." "No problem. We're just reviewing the final candidates for our night security position," Richard explained. "Mrs. Perez has narrowed it down to 3 excellent options." Mrs. Perez opened the top folder. "First is James Miller, former police officer, 20 years of experience." Elena glanced at the photo of an older white man with a stern expression. "Next is David Chen, military background, specialized in security systems." Another photo showed a serious-looking Asian man in his 40s. "And finally, Marcus Reed." Mrs. Perez opened the last folder. "Younger than the others at 32, but excellent references. Former EMT trainee with emergency response experience." Elena looked at the photo of a handsome black man with kind eyes and a confident smile. Something about his steady gaze made her uncomfortable. She'd grown up in this hotel, surrounded by wealthy white guests and staff that matched what her father called the brand image. Change made her nervous. "I think Miller would be best," she said quickly. "Most experience." "Actually," Mrs. Perez countered, "Marcus scored highest in our assessment. He's tech-savvy, knows emergency protocols, and has excellent people skills." Richard studied the files. "All good candidates. I'm leaning toward Reed. Young energy, emergency training, exactly what our night shift needs." Elena leaned closer to her father, lowering her voice. "Don't hire him, Dad. He's black. It won't fit the brand." The words left her mouth before she could stop them. Mrs. Perez's eyes widened slightly, but she kept her professional composure. Richard frowned. "Elena, that's not how we make decisions here." A gentle knock at the door interrupted them. Mrs. Perez rose to answer it. "Mr. Reed is here for his tour," she announced. Elena's cheeks burned. Had he heard? The timing was awful. Marcus Reed stepped into the room in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. His shoulders were broad, his posture perfect. Up close, his eyes were even kinder than in his photo. "Good morning," he said, his voice deep and steady. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Richard stood and extended his hand. "Not at all, Mr. Reed. I'm Richard Hale, owner. This is my daughter Elena, our operations lead." Marcus shook Richard's hand firmly, then turned to Elena. If he had heard her comment, his face showed nothing. "Ms. Hale," he said with a polite nod. Elena managed a tight smile but avoided his eyes. "Welcome." Mr. Reed, Richard continued, we're impressed with your qualifications. The position is yours if you want it. Night shift, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., probationary period of 3 months. Elena's mouth fell open. Her father had just ignored her completely. Marcus smiled, genuine and warm. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity. Mrs. Perez will handle the paperwork. Elena will show you around the property later. Elena stared at her father in disbelief. Dad, I have the monthly inventory. Nina can handle that, Richard said firmly. This is more important. 2 hours later, Elena waited impatiently in the lobby. She'd spent the morning fuming. Her father never dismissed her input like that. She ran hotel operations flawlessly, and everyone knew it. Nina Park, the front desk lead and Elena's closest work friend, handed her a coffee. At 29, Nina was a year younger than Elena, but seemed wiser somehow. Her long black hair was always perfectly styled, and she wore her hotel uniform like a fashion statement. Your new hire's doing paperwork, Nina said, nodding toward HR. He seems nice. He's not my hire, Elena muttered. Dad overruled me. Nina raised an eyebrow. Why? His resume looks solid. Elena lowered her voice. He doesn't fit our image. Which means? You know what our guests expect, Nina. A certain level of polish. Nina's expression cooled. He looked pretty polished to me. You know what I mean? Actually, I don't, Nina replied, her tone unusually sharp. But I hope it's not what it sounds like. Elena felt her defenses rise. It's about standards, not... Ms. Hale? Marcus's voice came from behind her. I'm ready for that tour whenever you are. Elena turned, forcing a professional smile. Of course. Let's start with the main floor. For the next hour, Elena led Marcus through the hotel, keeping her explanations brief and formal. The grand ballroom with its crystal chandeliers, the restaurant with its white tablecloths, the business center, the fitness room, all the places he would patrol during his night shift. The security office is here, she said, unlocking a door near the back of the lobby. Monitors, communication equipment, first aid supplies. Marcus scanned the small room with professional interest. Good setup. Do you have emergency response protocols documented? In the binder on the desk, Elena replied, surprised by the question. Most security guards just wanted to know about breaks and coffee. And the service areas? He asked. This way. She showed him the service elevator, the storage rooms, the staff lounge, and finally, the stairwells. We have 4 emergency stairwells, she explained. You'll need to check them regularly for any issues. I noticed the wet floor sign is missing here, Marcus observed, pointing to an empty hook on the wall. Elena frowned. Housekeeping should have replaced it. First day, and I'm already finding problems, Marcus said with a small smile. Something in his gentle teasing made Elena bristle. Mr. Reed, at the Hale Regent, we maintain extremely high standards. I expect the same from our staff. His smile faded. Of course, Ms. Hale. I'll report any issues I find. Their tour ended in the lobby as the afternoon sunlight began to fade. Early evening guests strolled through the entrance, bellhops rushing to collect luggage. Your shift starts at 8, Elena said. Security badge and radio from the office. Questions? No questions, Marcus replied evenly. Thank you for the tour. Elena nodded and walked away, feeling strangely unsettled. She'd been cold, and they both knew it. But something about Marcus Reed made her nervous. The way he noticed things. The calm confidence in his eyes. The fact that her father had hired him over her objection. Maybe he would quit after a few days. The night shift was lonely, boring. Many didn't last. At 8:45 p.m., Marcus walked the quiet corridors of the Hale Regent. The nightlights cast soft shadows along the walls. He'd changed into his security uniform. Dark pants, white shirt, navy blazer with the hotel's gold crest. His badge gleamed under the dim lighting. He took mental notes as he completed his first round. A loose handrail on the third floor. A flickering light in the east corridor. The missing wet floor sign in the service stairwell. Details mattered in this job. Small problems could become big ones if left unfixed. The hotel had a different personality at night. During the day, it was all business and bustle. At night, it felt more like what it really was, a place where people slept, dreamed, and felt far from home. His job wasn't just security, it was making sure everyone slept soundly. Marcus checked his watch. Almost time for his next round. He headed back toward the lobby, pausing when he spotted Elena Hale walking through the main entrance. She wore a tailored black dress now, her blonde hair falling loose around her shoulders. She looked tired, her usual, confident stride a bit slower. She didn't notice him until she was halfway across the lobby. "Ms. Hale?" he said with a nod. "Working late?" Elena seemed startled to see him. "Mr. Reed? Yes, I need to fix a billing error before morning." An older woman with silver hair approached them from the elevator bank. She wore an elegant nightgown and robe, a hotel logo embroidered on the pocket. "Elena, dear," the woman said warmly, "I thought you'd gone home hours ago." "Mrs. Ortiz." Elena's face softened into a genuine smile. "Just wrapping up some details. Did you need something?" "Just a fresh pot of tea," Mrs. Ortiz replied. Her eyes turned to Marcus. "And who is this handsome young man?" "This is Marcus Reed, our new night security guard," Elena said. "Mr. Reed, this is Mrs. Ortiz, one of our most loyal guests. She stays with us every month." Marcus offered his hand. "Pleasure to meet you, ma'am." Mrs. Ortiz took his hand between both of hers. "Such lovely manners. Richard does hire the best people, doesn't he, Elena?" A flicker of something crossed Elena's face. "Yes, he does." "Well, I feel safer already knowing you're watching over us," Mrs. Ortiz told Marcus. "Elena, would you mind asking room service about that tea?" "I'll take care of it," Elena assured her. After Mrs. Ortiz returned to the elevator, an awkward silence fell between them. "She seems nice," Marcus offered. "Mrs. Ortiz has been staying here since before I was born," Elena said. "She's like family." For a moment, Elena's guard seemed lower, her voice warmer. Then she straightened her shoulders. "I should get to work. Good night, Mr. Reed." "Good night, Ms. Hale." Marcus watched her walk away, wondering about the woman behind the cool exterior. He'd heard her whispered comment that morning. He wasn't surprised. He'd faced worse many times before. But something told him there was more to Elena Hale than prejudice and privilege. Near midnight, Elena rubbed her temples in the back office. The billing system had been giving her trouble for hours. Numbers swam before her eyes, and a familiar tightness was building in her chest. "Not now," she thought. "Not here." Her hands began to shake slightly. The first sign. Then came the racing heartbeat, the shallow breathing. She gripped the edge of the desk, trying to focus. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. The breathing technique her therapist had taught her rarely worked when a panic attack took hold. A knock at the office door made her jump. "Miss Hale? The lights are still on. Everything okay?" Marcus Reed. "Great." "Fine," she called, hating the tremor in her voice. "Just finishing up." She heard him hesitate on the other side of the door. "Can I get you anything? Water, maybe?" "No, thank you." Elena gathered her things quickly. She needed to get to her car before this got worse. "Good night, Mr. Reed." She opened the door and brushed past him, hoping he wouldn't notice her shaky hands or rapid breathing. The last thing she needed was for the new hire to see her fall apart. Elena decided to take the service stairs down to the parking garage. It would be faster than waiting for the elevator, and she wouldn't risk running into any late-night guests. The stairwell was dimly lit, concrete steps echoing with each footfall. She moved quickly, one hand on the metal railing, the other clutching her purse. 3 floors down, her foot hit something slick, a small puddle from a leaking pipe overhead, right where the missing wet floor sign should have been. Her ankle twisted, and she fell hard, sliding down several steps before catching herself. Pain shot through her ankle, but worse than the pain was the wave of panic that crashed over her. Her chest tightened like a vice. She couldn't catch her breath. The stairwell seemed to spin around her. Elena tried to stand, but her ankle gave way. She slumped against the wall, gasping for air, her heart hammering against her ribs. This is bad, she thought. Really bad. A distant door opened above her. Footsteps on the stairs. Hello? Marcus's voice echoed in the stairwell. Anyone down there? Elena couldn't answer, couldn't get enough air to form words. The footsteps quickened. A beam of light found her face, Marcus's flashlight. His expression shifted from concern to focused calm in an instant. Ms. Hale, he said, kneeling beside her. I've got you. Are you hurt? She nodded, pointing to her ankle. But that wasn't the real problem. She tapped her chest, trying to convey what was happening. Understanding crossed his face. Panic attack? Another nod, more desperate. Okay, let's focus on your breathing first. His voice was steady, sure. In for 4 seconds. He counted slowly. Hold for 4. More counting. Out for 4. Elena tried to follow his rhythm. The first few breaths were ragged, but his counting continued, unwavering. That's it. You're doing great. Again. In for 4. Gradually, her breathing slowed. The tightness in her chest began to ease. The dizziness receded. Marcus gently examined her ankle, his touch professional. Doesn't look broken, but it's starting to swell. Let me help you with that. He removed his blazer, folded it neatly, and placed it under her injured ankle. This should help until we can get some ice. How? Elena managed, her voice shaky. How did you know what to do? EMT training, he said simply. I did it for a while. Thank you, she whispered, surprised by the emotion in her voice. You're welcome, Elena, he replied, using her first name for the first time. His eyes met hers, kind and free of judgment. Marcus, she said, testing his name on her lips. He smiled, and something shifted between them. Not friendship, not yet, but a crack in the wall she'd built. Let's get you some ice for that ankle, he said, offering his arm. Think you can stand with some help? She nodded. I'll try. With Marcus supporting most of her weight, Elena stood carefully. Pain shot through her ankle, but it was bearable. One step at a time, he said. I've got you. Together they made their way slowly up the stairs, the flashlight beam guiding their path. One step at a time. By 12:40 a.m., they had made it to the lobby. Marcus helped Elena to a bench and went to get ice from the bar kitchen. Nina appeared from the front desk, eyes wide with concern. Elena, what happened? Slipped on the stairs, Elena explained, embarrassed, and had a panic attack. Oh no, Nina said quietly. She knew about Elena's anxiety issues, one of the few who did. Should I call someone? No need, Marcus said, returning with an ice pack and tea. But maybe bring Ms. Hale's car around front? She shouldn't walk to the garage. Nina nodded and took Elena's keys. Marcus carefully placed the ice pack on Elena's ankle. 20 minutes on, 20 off. Try to keep it elevated tonight. Elena sipped the tea, chamomile with honey. How did you know to make this? Lucky guess, he said with a small smile. It's what my sister makes when I'm stressed. A comfortable silence settled between them. Elena found herself studying his face, the strong jawline, the kind eyes, the small scar above his right eyebrow. How quickly her impression of him had changed. Why did you leave EMT training? She asked suddenly. Something flickered in his expression. A brief shadow. Family needed me more. Maybe another time. She nodded, understanding he didn't want to elaborate. Well, I'm glad you had the training. Tonight could have been much worse. All part of the job, he said. But they both knew it was more than that. He'd seen her at her most vulnerable, helped her through it with dignity and respect, despite how cold she'd been to him, despite what she'd said in her father's office. The thought made her cheeks burn with shame. Nina returned with the car. All set out front. Want me to drive you home? I'll be okay, Elena assured her. She turned to Marcus. Would you mind helping me to my car? Of course. With Marcus's steady support, Elena limped through the lobby to the front entrance. The night air was cool against her face. Her car waited at the curb, engine running. Can you drive with that ankle? He asked, concern in his voice. It's my left, and the car's automatic, she said. I'll manage. He helped her into the driver's seat, making sure she could reach the pedals comfortably. Ice it tonight, and see a doctor tomorrow if it's still painful. I will, she promised. Marcus, thank you. For everything. He nodded, his expression warm. Good night, Elena. Drive safely. As she pulled away from the curb, Elena watched him in the rearview mirror, standing tall in the hotel entrance. Her heart felt strange, lighter somehow, despite everything. At home, as she elevated her ankle and applied fresh ice, Elena reached for her phone. I need to apologize tomorrow, she texted Nina. The reply came quickly. For what? Elena hesitated, then typed. For judging someone without knowing them. For saying things I'm not proud of. Proud of you, Nina texted back. Get some rest. Elena set her phone aside, her mind replaying the events of the night. The fall, the panic, the steady voice guiding her back to calm. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Marcus Reed wasn't at all what she'd expected, and maybe that was exactly what she needed. Morning sunlight streamed through Elena's bedroom window. She winced as she swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her ankle throbbed, purple bruises blooming around the swollen joint. The events of last night rushed back to her. The fall, the panic attack, Marcus's calm voice guiding her breathing, and the memory of what she'd said in her father's office. Don't hire him, Dad. He's black. It won't fit the brand. The words made her stomach tighten with shame now. She'd never thought of herself as prejudiced. She had black friends in college. She donated to social justice causes. But last night had forced her to see an ugly truth. She had judged Marcus before knowing him, simply because of his race. Elena's phone buzzed with a text from Nina. How's the ankle? Coming in today? Yes, Elena replied. Just running late. She couldn't hide at home. The hotel was her responsibility, and she had amends to make. By 8 a.m., Elena limped into the hotel operations center, leaning on a borrowed cane. The morning staff meeting was already in progress. Nina immediately rose to help her to a chair. What happened? Asked her father, concern etched on his face. Small accident on the stairs, Elena said. I'm fine. Nina gave the operations report while Elena tried to focus, but her mind kept drifting to the security office. Had Marcus gone home yet? Would he be back tonight? What would she say to him? After the meeting, her father pulled her aside. You should have called me. I would have picked you up. It wasn't serious, Elena insisted. The new security guard helped me. Reed? Good man. Richard nodded. Glad he was there. Elena swallowed. Dad, about what I said yesterday? Mrs. Ortiz is asking for you, Nina interrupted, appearing at Elena's elbow. She's in the lobby. Elena sighed. The apology to her father would have to wait. She found Mrs. Ortiz seated in one of the plush lobby chairs, elegant, as always, in a powder blue suit. At 67, the woman had the energy of someone 20 years younger. Elena, darling. Mrs. Ortiz took her hand. What happened to your ankle? Just a little slip, Elena said. Nothing serious. Well, thank goodness that kind security guard was there to help you, Mrs. Ortiz said. Marcus, wasn't it? Such a gentleman. He checked on me this morning before his shift ended, made sure my newspaper was delivered properly. Elena felt another pang of shame. Even after a full night shift, Marcus had taken time to check on the guests. He seems very thoughtful, she managed. A rare quality these days, Mrs. Ortiz agreed. Your father always finds the good ones. Not me, Elena thought. I tried to stop him. Back in her office, Elena stared at her reflection in the small mirror on the wall. What would she say to Marcus? Sorry I didn't want you hired because you're black didn't seem adequate. Words alone felt hollow after what had happened. Finally, she took out a small cream-colored card, the kind they left in VIP rooms with welcome messages. She wrote simply, Thank you for your help last night. I'm grateful. Elena. She walked to the security office and slipped the card into the inbox. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. That evening, Elena found herself lingering at work far later than necessary. She told herself she needed to catch up after missing the morning, but the truth was simpler. She was waiting for Marcus's shift to begin at 8 p.m. At 7:30, she went to the hotel cafe and ordered 2 coffees. One black, one with cream and sugar. She wasn't sure which he would prefer, so she brought both. The security office door was open when she arrived. Marcus was inside, reviewing the logbook from the day shift. He looked up, surprised to see her. Ms. Hale? He said, rising from his chair. How's the ankle? Better, she said, though the pain still shot through her leg with each step. And please, call me Elena. She held out the coffee cups. I wasn't sure how you take it. Black is perfect, he said, accepting the cup. Thank you. An awkward silence fell between them. Elena shifted her weight off her injured ankle. Did you get my note? She asked finally. I did, he said with a slight nod. Thank you. Another silence. This was harder than she'd expected. Marcus, I need to apologize, she said, the words rushing out. Not just for last night, but for yesterday morning. What I said in my father's office, it was wrong. Completely wrong. His expression remained neutral. You thought I couldn't hear you. That makes it worse, not better, Elena admitted. I judged you without knowing you. I made assumptions based on nothing but your race, and I'm truly sorry. Marcus studied her for a long moment. His eyes were kind but cautious. I appreciate the apology, he said finally. I won't pretend it didn't hurt, but I've heard worse. That doesn't make it okay, Elena said. I was raised better than that. I know better than that. Why are you telling me this now? He asked. Because I helped you last night? The question caught her off guard. Partly, she admitted. But not just that. I was wrong, and you deserve to hear me say it. Marcus nodded slowly. Thank you for that. But I need to be clear about something, Elena. I don't need special treatment. I don't want to be your project or your exception. I just want to do my job well and be treated with the same respect as anyone else. Of course, Elena said quickly. And I need honesty. he continued. If something's wrong, tell me directly. If I make a mistake, let me know. No whispers, no going behind my back. I promise, she said, and she meant it. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it with a slight frown. Everything okay? Elena asked. My sister, he said. I need to call her back. It's about our mom's medication. Of course, I'll let you get to work, Elena said, moving toward the door. Thank you for listening. Elena, Marcus called as she reached the doorway. How do you take your coffee? For next time. Cream, no sugar, she said with a small smile. He nodded. I'll remember that. At 10 p.m., Elena was finishing paperwork when her office phone rang. Her father's name flashed on the caller ID. Dad, is everything okay? I need you to come to the house tomorrow afternoon, Richard said without preamble. Evan's flying in to discuss the anniversary gala PR strategy. Elena's stomach tightened. Evan Walsh had been her boyfriend for nearly 2 years before they'd broken up 6 months ago. Now he consulted on hotel PR, which made every interaction awkward. Can't we just do a conference call? She asked. He's bringing mock-ups for the new campaign. You need to see them in person, Richard insisted. 1 o'clock. Don't be late. After hanging up, Elena rubbed her temples. The last thing she needed was Evan's smug face judging her life choices. She decided to take a short walk through the hotel to clear her head. The night crowd was different. Business travelers working late in the lobby, couples returning from shows or dinners, the night staff moving quietly through the halls. Near the east corridor, she spotted Marcus doing his rounds. He noticed her and gave a small nod. Evening checkup? He asked. Just stretching my legs, she replied, making sure everything's running smoothly. They walked together down the corridor, a comfortable silence between them. Elena noticed how the night staff greeted Marcus warmly. The custodian, the room service waiter, the overnight front desk clerk. He'd only been here 2 days, but he already knew their names. You make friends fast, Elena observed. People who work nights look out for each other, he said simply. It's a different world after dark. They reached the lobby window, a massive pane of glass overlooking the city lights. Elena found herself taking a deep breath, then another. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Another one coming on? Marcus asked quietly. Elena shook her head. Just the opposite. This is my calming spot. When work gets overwhelming, I come here and look at the lights. Marcus studied the view. It's peaceful, he agreed, like the city's taking a breath. Exactly, Elena said, surprised he understood. They stood side by side for a moment, watching the distant cars and the twinkling buildings. If you ever need a breather, Elena said, this spot works wonders. I'll remember that, Marcus replied. You heading home soon? In a bit. I've got a meeting tomorrow I'm not looking forward to. Former flame? He guessed with a small smile. Elena looked at him in surprise. How did you know? Your voice changes, same way it did when you mentioned your father earlier? You're observant. Part of the job, he said with a shrug. Helps to notice things. Like when someone's having a panic attack? Elena thought. Or when someone said something hurtful about you. Well, I should finish up, she said. Good night, Marcus. Night, Elena. Watch those stairs on your way out. She smiled. I will. The next afternoon, Elena sat stiffly on her father's leather sofa. The Hale family home was in an exclusive neighborhood just 10 minutes from the hotel. A sprawling modern house with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist decor. It had never felt particularly warm to Elena, especially after her mother died 5 years ago. Evan Walsh sat across from her, looking as polished as ever in his tailored suit. His blonde hair was perfectly styled, his smile practiced. They'd met at a hotel industry conference, and for a while, Elena had thought they were well matched. Both came from hospitality families. Both cared about image and success. Both knew how the game was played. But eventually, she'd seen the calculation behind his charm. How he used people. How nothing mattered except the next career step. "So," he said, sliding a folder across the coffee table. "Anniversary campaign concepts. 60 years of Hale luxury." Richard leaned forward to examine the mock-ups. "Clean, elegant. I like them." "We'll highlight the historical aspects," Evan continued. "Old Hollywood glamour, famous guests over the decades. Excellence that stands the test of time." Elena flipped through the pages. The concept was solid, if predictable. But something about Evan's presence made her tense. The way he kept glancing at her, as if assessing whether she was still affected by him. "One concern," Evan added, his tone shifting. "I've heard you've made some staffing changes recently. Security, specifically." Richard raised an eyebrow. "Marcus Reed. Excellent hire. What about him?" "I'm thinking about optics, Richard," Evan said smoothly. "The Hale brand has always projected a certain tradition, classical luxury." Elena felt her chest tighten. She knew exactly what Evan was implying. "You mean white," she said flatly. Evan's smile didn't waver. "I mean consistency with your established image. Your clientele has certain expectations." "Our clientele expects excellence," Richard replied. "Reed delivers that." "Of course," Evan backpedaled slightly. "I'm just saying staff attachments can be risky from a PR perspective. Personal connections cloud judgment." Elena frowned. "What do you mean, attachments?" "Word gets around, Elena," Evan said. "Your little incident on the stairs? Very damsel in distress." Heat rushed to Elena's face. "He did his job. I thanked him. End of story." "If you say so." Evan's tone suggested he didn't believe her. "Just be careful. You've worked hard to build your reputation at the hotel. Would be ashamed to complicate that." The implied threat hung in the air. Elena looked to her father, expecting him to defend her. Instead, Richard cleared his throat awkwardly. "Let's stay focused on the campaign," he said. "I think these concepts will work well." The meeting continued, but Elena barely heard the rest. Evan's words had stirred something protective in her, not just for herself, but for Marcus. The idea that her simple gratitude could be twisted into hotel gossip made her furious. After Evan left, she confronted her father. "You didn't say anything." Richard sighed heavily. "Evan's tactics are questionable, but his concern isn't entirely unfounded. The hotel has an image—" "Don't say brand, Dad," Elena cut him off. "We're talking about people. Real people." "I know that," he insisted, "but appearances matter in our business. You've always understood that." "Maybe I'm tired of understanding it," she said. "Maybe some things matter more." Richard studied his daughter's face. "Like what?" "Like doing what's right," Elena said. "Like treating people with dignity." A small smile touched Richard's lips. "You sound like your mother." The comparison startled Elena. Her mother had been the heart of the family, warm, principled, uncompromising when it came to treating people well. "Is that a bad thing?" she asked quietly. "No," Richard admitted. "It's what I've missed most since she's been gone. The way she kept me honest." He picked up the PR mock-ups, staring at them thoughtfully. "Go easy on yourself, Elena. We all have blind spots. The question is what we do once we see them." Later that night, long after her shift should have ended, Elena sat in the empty breakfast room of the hotel. The large space was dimly lit, chairs stacked neatly on tables. Through the windows, she could see the city lights, not as impressive as from the lobby, but still beautiful. She heard footsteps approaching and looked up to see Marcus in the doorway. His tie was loosened slightly, the only sign he was several hours into his shift. "Everything okay?" he asked. "It's after midnight." "Couldn't sleep," she admitted. "Thought I might as well get some work done." Marcus nodded toward the untouched laptop beside her. "Doesn't look like you're working." "Caught me," she said with a small smile. "Just thinking." He hesitated, then gestured to the chair across from her. "Mind if I join you? It's my break time." "Please." Marcus sat down, setting his coffee mug on the table. "Rough day?" "Meeting with my ex," Elena said. "He does PR for the hotel." "Ah," Marcus said. "The not looking forward to meeting." "That's the one." "Want to talk about it?" Elena hesitated. She barely knew Marcus, yet somehow felt she could trust him. "He made some comments about you, actually." Marcus's expression remained calm. "What kind of comments?" "About optics and brand image. Code for, well, you know." "I know," Marcus said quietly. "Not the first time I've heard it. Won't be the last." "It's wrong," Elena said firmly. "And the worst part is, a week ago, I might have agreed with him." "What changed?" Marcus asked. "You helped me when I was vulnerable," she said. "You didn't have to be so kind after what I said, but you were." "Helping people isn't conditional," Marcus replied. "It's just what you do." The simplicity of his statement struck her. No calculated PR moves, no brand considerations, just basic human decency. "Tell me something real about yourself," Elena said suddenly. "Not work stuff, something I wouldn't guess." Marcus considered this for a moment. "I paint," he said finally. "Watercolors mainly, landscapes." "Really?" Elena couldn't hide her surprise. "My mom taught art before her stroke," he explained. "She can't paint anymore, but she still critiques mine. Never pulls her punches either." Elena smiled, picturing this. "I'd love to see your work sometime." "Maybe," he said. "What about you? Something I wouldn't guess." "I wanted to be a chef," she admitted. "Went to culinary school for a year before my father convinced me the hotel was my future." "Do you regret it?" "Sometimes," Elena said. "I still cook when I'm stressed. It helps clear my head." "Better than my stress relief," Marcus said. "I organize things, rearrange furniture, drive my sister crazy." Elena laughed. "How long have you lived with your sister?" 3 years, he said. "Since Mom's stroke. Tasha's her primary caregiver, but I help when I can. It's why I took this job. Night shift pays better, and I can be there during the day if needed." The pieces clicked into place for Elena. Why he'd left EMT training. Why he needed steady work with good pay. Why he'd been so quick to accept her father's offer despite her obvious discomfort. "Your family is lucky to have you," she said. "I'm the lucky one," Marcus replied. "They keep me grounded." Their eyes met across the table, and Elena felt something shift between them. Not just understanding or respect, but a spark of something more. Something that made her heart beat a little faster. Marcus seemed to feel it too. He glanced at his watch. "I should finish my rounds." "Of course," Elena said. As he rose to leave, he paused. "Thanks for the talk. It's nice, finding someone who listens." "Same here," she replied. "Good night, Marcus." "Night, Elena." She watched him go, a strange warmth spreading through her chest. For the first time in a long while, she'd had a conversation that felt completely honest. No agenda, no image to maintain. Just two people connecting. It was as refreshing as it was terrifying. Over the next 3 nights, a quiet routine developed between them. Elena found reasons to stay late. Legitimate work at first, then increasingly flimsy excuses. They'd meet in the lobby or breakfast room for short conversations during Marcus's breaks. She learned about his family, his mother Delia's talent for painting and cooking, his sister Tasha's fierce protectiveness, their small apartment filled with books and art supplies. He learned about her culinary dreams, her complicated relationship with her father, her love for the hotel despite its demands. Each conversation built a bridge between them, spanning differences in background, experience, and perspective. Elena found herself looking forward to these quiet moments, planning her day around them. On the third night, they stood together on the hotel rooftop, looking out over the city lights. It was Marcus who had suggested the spot. Even better than the lobby window, he'd promised. He was right. The view was breathtaking, the cityscape spread out like a tapestry of lights against the dark sky. "I come up here during my rounds," Marcus admitted. "Probably spend more time than I should." "Your secret's safe with me," Elena said, smiling. A comfortable silence fell between them. Elena was acutely aware of how close they stood, their hands nearly touching on the rooftop railing. "Can I ask you something personal?" Marcus said finally. "Of course." "The panic attacks. How long have you had them?" Elena looked down at her hands. "Since college. They got worse after my mom died." "What helps, besides the breathing?" "Routine, control," she admitted. "Knowing what comes next, it's why change is hard for me." Marcus nodded. "Makes sense. Is that why you pushed back when your father hired me? Just the change?" The question hung in the air between them. Elena could have taken the easy way out, blamed it on resistance to change rather than prejudice, but she'd promised him honesty. "Partly," she said, "but I'd be lying if I said that was all. I was raised in a certain world, with certain expectations. I never thought of myself as prejudiced, but clearly, I had blind spots." "We all do," Marcus said gently. "That doesn't excuse it." "No," he agreed, "but recognizing it matters. Wanting to be better matters." Their eyes met, and Elena felt that spark again. Stronger now, undeniable. Marcus's gaze dropped to her lips for a brief moment before he looked away. "I should check the East Corridor," he said, his voice slightly rough. "I'll walk with you," Elena offered. "If that's okay." "I'd like that." As they left the rooftop, their hands brushed together. Neither pulled away. Something was building between them, fragile but real. Something neither had expected, yet both now craved. Something that would soon be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. The next afternoon, Elena sat in her father's office, tension radiating from her stiff posture. Richard had called an unexpected meeting, his tone grave when he'd summoned her. "Is something wrong?" she asked. Richard slid a printout across his desk. "Evan sent this to me last night." Elena's stomach dropped as she recognized the image, a security camera still showing her leaning heavily on Marcus's arm in the hotel corridor after her fall. Out of context, the picture could be misinterpreted as an intimate moment. "He said one of his interns was reviewing security footage for the anniversary retrospective and found this," Richard continued. "He's concerned about appearances." "It was the night I fell," Elena explained, heat rushing to her cheeks. "Marcus was helping me to the lobby. You know that." "I know," Richard said, "but that's not how it looks." "Since when do we care more about how things look than what they are?" Elena demanded. Richard sighed heavily. "Elena, you're my daughter and the future of this hotel. Your reputation matters." "And what about Marcus's reputation?" she countered. "He was doing his job, helping an injured person. Now Evan's making it look inappropriate." "I'm not saying I agree with Evan," Richard clarified. "I'm saying we need to be careful. No more late nights at the hotel. No more private conversations in empty rooms. Elena stared at her father in disbelief. Are you forbidding me from talking to a member of our staff? I'm asking you to be professional, Richard replied. To remember your position. My position, Elena repeated, a bitter edge to her voice. As the hotel heiress who can't possibly have a genuine connection with the black security guard. Richard looked pained. That's not fair, Elena. Isn't it? She challenged. What if Marcus were white? Would we be having this conversation? Her father's silence was answer enough. I thought so, Elena said, standing up. For the record, Dad, Marcus and I are friends. Nothing more. But even if there were something more, it would be none of Evan's business. And it shouldn't be yours either? She turned to leave, but Richard's voice stopped her. Your mother would be proud of you right now, he said quietly. Standing up for what you believe in, for who you believe in. Elena looked back at her father, surprised. Just be careful, he added. Not everyone is as well-intentioned as Marcus Reed. That evening, the hotel buzzed with preparations for a VIP mixer on the rooftop. Elena threw herself into the details, grateful for the distraction from her conversation with her father. As the event staff transformed the rooftop with string lights and flowers, Elena noticed Marcus examining the area with unusual attention. He ran his hand along the metal railing that encircled the space, a frown creasing his forehead. Something wrong? She asked, approaching him. This section feels loose, he said, wiggling a small portion of the railing. Might just need tightening, but we should check it before guests arrive. Elena nodded. I'll call maintenance right away. Within an hour, the maintenance team had identified and fixed the problem. A loose bolt that could have resulted in a section of railing giving way under pressure. A potential disaster averted by Marcus's careful inspection. Later, as the mixer ended and the last guests departed, Elena found Marcus doing his regular patrol of the now empty rooftop. I heard what you did, she said simply. He looked up, puzzled. Just doing my job. You saved someone from getting hurt tonight. Maybe several someones. Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. Anyone would have noticed. But they didn't. You did, Elena insisted. You notice things others miss, Marcus? It's a gift. He seemed about to brush off the compliment again, but something in her expression stopped him. Thank you, he said instead. They stood together in the glow of the string lights, the night air cool around them. The moment felt weighted with possibility. Would you like to get coffee sometime? Elena asked suddenly. Not here, I mean, somewhere else, during the day. The question surprised them both. Marcus studied her face, his expression serious. Are you sure that's a good idea? No, Elena admitted, but I'd like to try anyway. A slow smile spread across his face. Then yes, I'd like that. The decision was made, the line crossed. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The empty breakfast room was quiet at 12:30 a.m. Most guests were asleep, and the hotel had settled into its nighttime rhythm of hushed conversations and dimmed lights. Elena had brought leftover pastries from the VIP mixer, delicate lemon tarts and chocolate eclairs arranged on a small plate. Marcus arrived with 2 cups of decaf coffee. Not exactly a proper first date, Elena said with a smile as they sat across from each other. I don't know, Marcus replied. Fancy pastries, private dining room, excellent company. Seems pretty good to me. He looked different tonight, more relaxed, his tie loosened and jacket set aside. The soft lighting cast warm shadows across his face, highlighting his strong jawline and kind eyes. Tell me something about growing up, Elena said, taking a small bite of lemon tart. What were you like as a kid? Marcus smiled, memories playing across his features. Quiet. Always had my head in a book. My mom was a teacher, so our house was full of them. What did you read? Everything I could get my hands on. Adventure stories, science books. I went through a big astronomy phase around 12, had glow-in-the-dark stars all over my ceiling. Elena tried to picture him as a thoughtful boy, staring up at plastic stars, dreaming of space. What about you? Marcus asked. What was little Elena Hale like? Serious, she admitted, always trying to be perfect. When other kids were playing, I was following my dad around the hotel, taking notes in a little pink notebook. Hotel Management 101? Something like that. I wanted him to be proud of me. And was he? Elena considered this. Yes, but it was always about the work, about living up to the Hale name. That's a lot of pressure for a kid, Marcus observed. It was all I knew, she said with a small shrug. After my mom died, it got more intense. The hotel became everything. No room for mistakes or distractions. Like panic attacks? Marcus asked gently. Elena nodded, looking down at her coffee. The first one happened my senior year of college. Final exams, plus Dad was pushing me to commit to hotel management instead of culinary school. I completely fell apart during a presentation. That must have been scary. Terrifying, she agreed. Especially not knowing what was happening. I thought I was dying. But you got help? Eventually. Therapy, breathing techniques, the whole package. Elena smiled ruefully. I've gotten pretty good at hiding it. Until someone finds you in a stairwell, Marcus said with a small smile. Until then, she agreed. A comfortable silence fell between them. Elena found herself studying his hands. Strong, capable hands that had steadied her, helped her breathe, fixed loose railings. Your turn, she said. Tell me something real, something that shaped you. Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering. When I was 16, my dad left. No warning, no goodbye, just gone. Left my mom to raise 2 teenagers alone. I'm sorry, Elena said softly. It taught me something important. He continued, about showing up, being reliable. When you care about people, you stay, even when things get hard. Is that why you left EMT training? To show up for your family? Marcus nodded. My mom's stroke happened during my 2nd year. Tasha was trying to handle everything. Mom's care, the medical bills, our childhood home. She never asked for help, but she was drowning. So I came home. Do you regret it? Sometimes I miss the work, he admitted, helping people in crisis, making a difference in their worst moments. But no, I don't regret the choice. Family comes first. Elena reached across the table, hesitating briefly before placing her hand over his. You still help people, you know. You helped me. His eyes met hers, warm and deep. That was different. How? It just was, he said softly. The air between them seemed to thicken, charged with unspoken feelings. Elena felt her heart quicken as Marcus's gaze dropped to her lips, then back to her eyes. He turned his hand beneath hers, their fingers intertwining naturally. Elena, he began, his voice low. She leaned forward slightly. Yes? Marcus closed the distance between them, his free hand gently touching her cheek. The first kiss was tentative, questioning, a soft press of lips that sent warmth cascading through her body. When they parted, his eyes searched hers for confirmation. Elena smiled and leaned in again. Their second kiss was deeper, more certain. His hand slid to the nape of her neck, cradling her head with gentle pressure. Her fingers tightened around his as everything else faded away. The hotel, their differences, the complications ahead. For this moment, there was only the two of them and the connection neither had expected to find. When they finally pulled apart, Elena felt breathless in a way that had nothing to do with anxiety. That was, she began. Yeah, Marcus agreed, a smile tugging at his lips. So what now? Elena asked. Marcus's expression grew more serious. Now we take it slow. See where this goes. Keep it honest. I'd like that, she said softly. No sneaking around, he added firmly. I won't be someone's secret, Elena. She nodded, understanding completely. No secrets, just maybe some privacy while we figure things out? I can work with that. They finished their coffee in comfortable silence, hands still joined across the table. At 1:05 a.m., they parted at the staff door, not hiding, but not making a show of things either. Good night, Elena, Marcus said softly. Good night. As she drove home, Elena felt lighter than she had in years. Something was beginning, something real and unexpected, and a little bit frightening. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of the unknown. Over the next few days, Elena and Marcus settled into a careful rhythm. Professional interactions during shift overlaps, brief coffee breaks in the staff lounge, text messages when they were apart. Simple things about their days, funny observations, getting to know you questions. They were taking it slow, as promised. But even this careful dance was noticed by some. Nina cornered Elena in her office on the third day. Okay, spill it. What's going on with you and the night guard? Nothing, Elena said too quickly. Nina raised a skeptical eyebrow. You're practically glowing, and you've stayed late every night this week. We're friends, Elena said carefully. Friends who look at each other like that? Nina pressed. Like what? Like you're the only two people in the room. Nina's expression softened. I think it's great, by the way. He seems like one of the good ones. He is, Elena admitted, but it's complicated. Because of what your father might say, or because of what people like Evan might whisper? Elena sighed. Both. Neither. I don't know. Well, figure it out, Nina advised. He deserves better than confusion. I know, Elena said quietly. That's what scares me. That evening, Evan Walsh arrived unannounced at the hotel, claiming he needed to check lighting for promotional photos. Elena watched warily as he wandered through the lobby with his phone out, snapping test shots of various angles. Something feels off, she told Nina at the front desk. He never does the preliminary work himself. Want me to keep an eye on him? Nina offered. Please, I have to finish payroll reports, but I don't trust him. In her office, Elena tried to focus on spreadsheets, but her mind kept returning to Evan's unexpected visit. What was he really doing here? And why tonight, when he knew Marcus would be on duty? At 10:30 p.m., her office phone rang. Nina's voice was tight with concern. Elena, you need to see this. Evan's been trailing Marcus for the last hour, always keeping just out of sight. He's taking photos whenever Marcus uses his keycard. Where are they now? Marcus just went to check the third-floor storage. Evan's lurking near the elevator. I'm on my way, Elena said, grabbing her jacket. She took the stairs to the third floor, arriving just as Marcus exited the storage room. He smiled when he saw her, unaware of Evan positioning himself around the corner with his phone raised. Hey, Marcus said warmly. Finished with those reports? Not yet, Elena replied, suddenly conscious of how close they were standing. She took a small step back, hating herself for the instinct, but aware of watching eyes. Just needed to stretch my legs. A flash of confusion crossed Marcus's face at her retreat. Before he could respond, Elena spotted Evan slipping away toward the elevator. I need to go, she said quickly. Can we talk later? Sure, Marcus replied, his tone cooled slightly by her sudden distance. Elena hurried after Evan, catching him as the elevator doors opened. "What are you doing?" she demanded, keeping her voice low. Evan's smile was all false innocence. "Just some preliminary shots for the campaign. The hotel at night has a certain ambiance." "Cut the act," Elena said. "Why are you following my security staff?" "Just documenting," Evan replied smoothly. "For the safety of the hotel, of course. Your father would want to know if there were any inappropriate activities happening during work hours." The threat was clear. Elena felt cold anger spreading through her chest. "There's nothing inappropriate happening here," she said evenly. "And if you have concerns about my staff, you bring them to me directly, not to my father, not through gossip. Is that clear?" Evan's smile didn't waver. "Crystal clear, Elena. Just looking out for your best interests. Always have." As he stepped into the elevator, he added softly, "By the way, your father mentioned the anniversary gala is black tie. Will you be bringing a +1? I'm still available if you need a suitable escort." The doors closed on his smug expression, leaving Elena trembling with suppressed rage. Later that night, Elena waited for Marcus in their usual spot, the breakfast room now becoming their private sanctuary. When he arrived, his expression was guarded. "I'm sorry about earlier," she said immediately. Evan was watching, taking photos. Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. "The PR guy? Your ex?" Elena nodded. "He's trying to create problems, make it look like something inappropriate is happening." "Is that why you stepped away? When I saw you on the 3rd floor?" "Yes," she admitted, shame coloring her voice. "I'm sorry, it was instinct." Marcus was quiet for a moment, processing. "So, what are we doing here, Elena? If you're going to pull away every time someone might see us together?" "That's not what I want," she said quickly. "What do you want, then?" The question hung between them, demanding an honest answer. Elena took a deep breath. "I want to see where this goes," she said finally. "You and me, without interference or judgment. I want a chance to know you better, to see if this feeling is as real as I think it is." "And what about Evan? Your father? The hotel guests?" "I can't promise it will be easy," Elena said. "People will talk. Some might not approve, but I can promise I won't hide how I feel about you. Not anymore." Marcus studied her face, searching for hesitation or doubt. Finding none, he reached for her hand across the table. "That's all I needed to hear," he said quietly. Relief washed over Elena. "So we're okay?" "We're okay," he assured her, squeezing her hand. "But we should be careful for the next few days. Your ex is clearly looking for ammunition." "Agreed," Elena said. "Professional distance at work. No late-night meetings for a while." "I'll miss our talks," Marcus admitted. "Me too," Elena said. "But it's temporary. Just until Evan leaves." They parted with reluctance, both aware of the challenges ahead, but committed to facing them together. The next morning, Elena was called to her father's office. The tight line of Richard's mouth told her something was wrong before he even spoke. "Close the door," he said. Elena's stomach dropped as she noticed the folder on his desk, identical to the one containing the security photo Evan had sent previously. "What now?" she asked, settling into the chair across from her father. Richard opened the folder, revealing several new photos. Each showed Marcus using his keycard to access different areas of the hotel, followed by shots of Elena entering the same areas shortly after. "Evan emailed these at 2 a.m., Richard explained. "He's suggesting that you and Mr. Reed are using his security access inappropriately, meeting in restricted areas during work hours." "That's ridiculous," Elena protested. "I'm operations director. I have access to every area of this hotel on my own keycard. Why would I need his?" I know that, Richard said, but the timing looks suspicious, and Evan pointed out that Mr. Reed has been focusing his patrols on areas where you happen to be working. Because we're friends, Elena admitted. We talk sometimes. There's nothing inappropriate happening. Richard studied his daughter's face. Just friends? Elena hesitated, then decided on honesty. Maybe more than friends. We're figuring it out. Her father leaned back in his chair, expression unreadable. I see. Is that all you have to say? Elena challenged. What would you like me to say, Elena? I don't know. Something about how it's my life? How I'm an adult who can make her own choices? How you trust my judgment? Richard sighed heavily. Of course I trust your judgment. It's not about that. Then what is it about? Elena demanded. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're more concerned about how things appear than how they actually are. It's complicated, Richard began. Is it? Or are we making it complicated? Elena stood, pacing the office. Marcus is a good man. Honest, hardworking, kind. He saved someone from getting hurt by finding that loose railing. He helps Mrs. Ortiz with her packages. He knows every staff member's name after just 1 week. I know all that, Richard said. His work has been exemplary. Then what's the problem? Richard hesitated before answering. The problem is Evan. He's threatening to take these photos to the board if we don't address the situation. He can't do that, Elena said, shock washing over her. He works for us, not the other way around. He's friends with half the board members, Richard reminded her. And he's suggesting that I've allowed personal relationships to compromise hotel security protocols. That's absurd. It doesn't matter if it's absurd. What matters is the perception. Richard ran a hand through his silver hair. I need to temporarily reassign Mr. Reed, just until this blows over. Elena felt as if the floor had dropped from beneath her. Reassign him? Where? The West Side property needs security. It's the same pay, same hours. It's across town, Elena argued. And it's a demotion. Everyone will know it. It's temporary, Richard insisted, just until I can sort things out with the board. And what about Marcus? Has anyone bothered to ask what he thinks about being shuffled around like a pawn? Richard's expression hardened slightly. He works for the hotel, Elena, for me. If he doesn't like the assignment, he's free to seek employment elsewhere. Wow, Elena said, hurt and anger flooding her voice. So that's how it is. Image first, people second. That's not fair. Isn't it? Elena moved toward the door. You know, Dad, Mom would be ashamed of this decision. The words hit their mark. Richard flinched visibly. Elena, if you reassign Marcus, you're telling everyone that Evan's insinuations have merit. You're validating gossip over truth. She gripped the doorknob, turning back to face her father. Whatever happens with Marcus and me is our business. But how you handle this, that's about what kind of man you are, what kind of hotel you really run. She left the office, closing the door firmly behind her. By that afternoon, word had spread through the hotel staff. Marcus had been temporarily reassigned. Security was reviewing access logs and protocols. No official reason was given, but whispers traveled quickly. He was helping a guest access secure areas. I heard he was stealing. No, it was about him and Elena Hale. They were caught on camera. Elena tried to reach Marcus by phone, but her calls went straight to voicemail. She sent a text. I'm so sorry, this isn't right. Please call me. No response. She found Nina at the front desk, her expression grim. Did you hear? Everyone heard, Nina confirmed. It's all they're talking about. Where is he? Is he still in the building? Nina shook her head. He cleared out his locker an hour ago. Didn't say much to anyone. This is my fault, Elena said, guilt washing over her. No, Nina replied firmly. This is Evan's fault, and your father's, for caving to pressure. I need to fix it. How? Elena considered this. I need proof that Evan staged those photos, that he deliberately created this situation. And how do you get that? A determined expression settled on Elena's face. By doing a little investigating of my own. That evening, Elena found Evan in a quiet corridor near the PR storage room. His confident smirk told her he knew about Marcus's reassignment. Problem solved, he said by way of greeting. Your father made the right call. There was no problem to solve, Elena replied coldly, except the one you created. Evan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Come on, Elena. We both know you can do better than some security guard with a hero complex. You've worked too hard to throw it all away on a workplace fling. This isn't about what's best for me, Elena said. It's about you being unable to accept that I've moved on. Moved on? Evan scoffed. To what? A guy who couldn't even finish EMT training? Who lives with his sister? Who will never understand your world? The cruel dismissal of Marcus's sacrifices for his family made Elena's blood boil. You don't know the first thing about him. I know enough, Evan replied. I know your father listened to reason. The board will be pleased. The board doesn't even know about this, Elena guessed, watching Evan's expression. You were bluffing. A flash of annoyance crossed his face. Let's call it leverage. The point is, it worked. The problem has been handled. You're the problem, Evan, Elena said quietly. And believe me, you'll be handled too. His smug smile returned. Threatening me, Elena? Not very professional. Neither is stalking my staff and fabricating evidence, she replied. How long did you wait, timing those photos to make it look like we were meeting? Did you enjoy playing detective, or was it just about getting even with me? Evan's expression hardened. You should be thanking me. I saved you from making a mistake that could have cost you everything. The only mistake I made was ever trusting you, Elena said. She walked away, leaving him standing alone in the corridor. Her mind was already racing ahead to her next move. The PR storage room was typically left unlocked during business hours. Elena slipped inside, closing the door behind her. The small space was lined with shelves containing marketing materials, campaign mock-ups, and several laptops used by the PR team. She found Evan's laptop easily, the newest model with his monogrammed case beside it. It was still open, the screen dimmed, but not locked. Evan's habit of leaving his computer unlocked had always annoyed Elena when they were dating. Now, it might be her best chance. She moved the mouse, bringing the screen to life. A draft email was open, addressed to her father, with the subject line, Additional Security Concerns. The timestamp showed it had been created just before the photos were taken. The body contained notes about what to look for, which areas to monitor, even suggested times when Elena and Marcus might be found together. It wasn't just opportunistic, it was a planned setup. Elena quickly took photos of the screen with her phone. Then she checked Evan's recent files, finding the original, uncropped security images. These showed the full context. Evan lurking nearby. The significant time gaps between Marcus's movements and Elena's. The normal hotel operations that had been deliberately framed to look suspicious. She forwarded these files to her own email, then to Nina's as backup. Evidence secured, she slipped out of the storage room. Back in her office, Elena sank into her chair, emotionally exhausted. Marcus was gone. The staff was whispering. Her father had chosen image over integrity. And despite her evidence against Evan, the damage was already done. She checked her phone again. Still no response from Marcus. As the night wore on, Elena found herself drawn to the security office. It felt strange without Marcus there. Emptier somehow, despite being exactly the same. His locker stood open and cleared out. Nothing left but a folded piece of paper at the bottom. Elena reached for it, recognizing her name written in Marcus's neat handwriting. The note was simple. "Thank you for being brave, M." Tears filled her eyes as she held the small piece of paper. The words were both a compliment and a gentle challenge. Had she really been brave? Or had she let fear win when it mattered most? Nina found her there, still holding the note. "You okay?" "No," Elena admitted. "I messed up, Nina. I should have stood up to Evan sooner. Protected Marcus better." "It's not too late," Nina said. "You have the evidence. Take it to your father." "And then what? Marcus is already gone. He won't answer my calls." "So go to him," Nina suggested. "Show him you're willing to fight for what matters." Elena looked at the note again. "Being brave isn't just about standing up to Evan or my father, is it?" "No," Nina agreed. "It's about being honest with yourself, about what you really want." What she wanted was suddenly crystal clear. Not the hotel's approval, not her father's protection, not a safely curated image. She wanted Marcus Reed, the man who had seen her at her most vulnerable and treated her with dignity, who noticed loose railings and remembered how she took her coffee, who chose family over career and kindness over judgment. "I need his address," Elena said, determination replacing despair. "From his HR file." Nina hesitated. "That's not exactly protocol." "Please, Nina, I need to make this right." Rain pattered against Elena's car windows as she pulled up to the modest apartment building across town. The 3-story brick structure was well maintained but simple, a far cry from the luxury condos near the hotel. Elena sat in her car for several minutes, gathering courage. The evidence against Evan was in her purse. The words she wanted to say to Marcus swirled in her mind. But was it enough? Would he even want to see her? Finally, she stepped out into the light rain, hurrying to the building entrance. Apartment 207, second floor, end of the hall. She stood before his door, heart pounding, and knocked. Long moments passed. She was about to knock again when the door opened. Marcus stood there in jeans and a simple gray t-shirt, surprise evident on his face. "Elena?" "Hi," she said, suddenly uncertain. "I'm sorry to just show up like this, but you weren't answering your phone and I needed to see you." He hesitated, then stepped back. "Come in. It's raining." The apartment was small but warm. Art hung on the walls, watercolor landscapes that must be Marcus's work. Books filled a small bookshelf. A few family photos stood on the end table. "I brought soup," Elena said, holding up the paper bag from the hotel kitchen. "I wasn't sure if you'd eaten." "Thanks," Marcus said, taking the bag and setting it on the kitchen counter. His movements were guarded, his expression unreadable. "How did you find my address?" "HR file," she admitted. "I probably broke a dozen privacy policies." That earned a small smile. "Rebel." "Marcus, I'm so sorry about what happened," Elena said, the words tumbling out. "I have proof that Evan staged the whole thing. He's been tracking your movements, timing the photos to make it look suspicious. I've forwarded everything to my father." "I figured it was something like that," Marcus said. "But that's not why I left." "Then why? Why didn't you fight it?" "Because I needed to know if you would," he said simply. The answer caught Elena off guard. "What do you mean?" "Elena, I care about you. More than I probably should after just a week. But I won't be someone's secret shame. I won't be with someone who steps away when people are watching." "That's not what you are to me," she insisted. "What am I then?" he asked quietly. The question hung between them, demanding complete honesty. Elena took a deep breath. You're the man who saw me when I was falling apart and didn't look away. Who taught me to breathe when I was drowning. Who made me question things I'd never thought to question before. She stepped closer to him. You're the man I'm falling for, Marcus, and I'm done hiding it. His expression softened. Are you sure? Your father, the hotel, your world? It's a lot to stand against. I'm not standing against anything, Elena said. I'm standing for something, for us, for being honest about what matters. She reached for his hand. I can't promise it will be easy. People will talk. Some won't approve. But I can promise I'll never step away again. Not when it counts. Marcus studied her face, searching for any trace of doubt. Finding none, he squeezed her hand gently. No more hiding? He asked. No more hiding, she confirmed. If we do this, we do it right, in the open. He pulled her closer, his free hand coming to rest at the small curve of her waist. I'd like that. The kiss that followed was different from their first, deeper, more certain, full of promise and possibility. It felt like coming home, like finding something neither knew they were looking for. When they finally parted, rain still pattered against the windows, but the world felt brighter somehow. Changed in a way that couldn't be undone. So what now? Marcus asked, his voice low. Now we fight for what's right, Elena said firmly. Together. The rain slowed outside, the first hints of clearing skies visible through the window. A new beginning taking shape. One brave choice at a time. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds of Marcus's apartment, casting warm stripes across the small living room. Elena sat on the couch, a mug of coffee warming her hands as she studied the watercolor paintings on the wall. They were beautiful. Landscapes of city parks and quiet street corners, painted with a gentle touch that captured both detail and feeling. These are amazing, she said as Marcus returned from the kitchen with his own coffee. You're really talented. Thanks, he replied, settling beside her. My mom's the real artist. She taught art for 30 years before her stroke. I'd love to meet her someday, Elena said, then hesitated. If that's something you'd want? Marcus smiled. I'd like that, but fair warning, she's brutally honest. No special treatment, even for the boss's daughter. I wouldn't want special treatment, Elena assured him. She glanced at her watch. I should get going soon. Meeting with my father at 9. The evidence about Evan? Elena nodded. Everything I found on his laptop, the staged photos, the setup, all of it. Do you think your father will listen? He has to, Elena said firmly. This isn't just about us anymore. It's about the kind of hotel he wants to run. One based on truth and respect, or one ruled by appearances and politics. Marcus took her hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. Together? Elena added, squeezing his hand. As she gathered her things to leave, the apartment door opened. A young woman with features similar to Marcus's, the same warm brown eyes, the same strong jawline, stepped inside, then froze at the sight of Elena. Oh, she said, surprise evident on her face. I didn't know you had company. Tasha, this is Elena, Marcus said, rising to make introductions. Elena, this is my sister Tasha. The hotel Elena? Tasha asked, her expression cautious. Elena extended her hand. It's nice to meet you, Tasha. I've heard wonderful things about you. Tasha shook her hand briefly, her gaze assessing. Wish I could say the same. All I know is my brother got reassigned yesterday with no explanation. That's my fault, Elena admitted. Or rather, my ex's fault. He created a false narrative about Marcus's work. I'm meeting with my father this morning to set things right. Tasha looked to her brother. Is that why you weren't answering your phone last night? You were with her? No, Marcus replied calmly. Elena came by this morning. I wasn't answering because I needed time to think. About? Tasha pressed. About what matters, he said simply. About being treated with respect. Something passed between the siblings, an unspoken understanding. Tasha's stance relaxed slightly. Well, she said, turning to Elena, I hope you're planning to do more than just talk to your father. Marcus deserves better than being shuffled around because of hotel politics. I agree completely, Elena replied, and I promise you, I'm going to fix this. Tasha studied her for a long moment, then gave a small nod. All right then, I'll hold you to that. As Elena prepared to leave, Marcus walked her to the door. Sorry about the third degree. Tasha's protective. She loves you, Elena said. I respect that. Besides, she's right. You do deserve better. So do you, he replied softly, kissing her briefly. Good luck with your father. Richard Hale's home office was pristine, like everything in his life. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined one wall, filled with leather-bound volumes and hotel management texts. Large windows overlooked a perfectly manicured garden. The desk, a massive antique passed down through generations of Hales, gleamed in the morning light. Elena sat across from her father. Evidence spread between them on the polished surface. Emails, photos, timestamps, the undeniable proof of Evan's manipulation. I suspected he was exaggerating, Richard admitted, studying the uncropped photos. But I had no idea he'd gone to these lengths. He deliberately created a false narrative, Elena said. He abused his access to our security system, manipulated images, and threatened you with the board, which, by the way, was a bluff. Richard's expression darkened. I've worked with Evan for years, trusted him with our brand image, our marketing strategy. He felt entitled, Elena explained. To me, to the hotel's respect, to getting his way. When I moved on, his ego couldn't handle it. And Mr. Reed, where does he fit into all this? Elena met her father's gaze steadily. Marcus and I have become close. We're exploring what that means. It's new, but it's real. Richard nodded slowly, absorbing this. I see. Dad, I need you to understand something, Elena continued. What happened with Marcus wasn't fair. Not to him, not to the staff who respect him, not to the hotel that benefits from his work. I was trying to protect the hotel's reputation, Richard began. No, Elena cut him off gently. You were trying to protect me. From gossip, from judgment, from making what you thought might be a mistake. But Dad, I'm not a little girl anymore. I don't need protection. I need support. Richard was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was weighted with regret. Your mother would have handled this better. She always knew when to protect and when to step back. What would she have done? Elena asked softly. A sad smile touched Richard's lips. She would have seen through Evan immediately. She had an incredible radar for insincerity, and she would have told me to trust you, to support your choices, even if they weren't the ones I would have made. Then do that, Elena urged. Trust me. Trust that I know what I'm doing, who I'm choosing to be with. Richard studied his daughter's face. You care for him deeply. It wasn't a question, but Elena answered anyway. I do. He's a good man, Dad. The kind of man who notices loose railings that could hurt guests. Who remembers Mrs. Ortiz's newspaper preferences. Who left his career dreams to care for his family. Richard nodded, decision settling in his eyes. Then I need to make this right. He reached for his desk phone.
Barbara, arrange a staff meeting for this afternoon. Small conference room, department heads only, and cancel our contract with Walsh PR, effective immediately.
Elena felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Thank you, Dad. Richard replaced the receiver, then opened his desk drawer. He removed a small velvet pouch, pushing it across the desk to Elena. What's this? She asked. Your grandmother's brass compass, he replied. Your mother gave it to me when we were first dating. Said I needed direction. A fond smile touched his lips. She was right, of course. Elena opened the pouch, revealing a small antique brass compass, its face worn with age but still functional. It's beautiful. For when hearts need direction, Richard said. That's what she told me. Seems fitting now. Elena clutched the compass, tears pricking at her eyes. Mom would have liked Marcus, wouldn't she? If he's half the man you believe him to be, Richard said gently, then yes, she would have adored him. The small conference room felt crowded with department heads gathered around the table. Nina represented the front desk team. Housekeeping, maintenance, food service, all the key staff who kept the hotel running smoothly. Richard stood at the head of the table, Elena beside him. Thank you all for coming on short notice, Richard began. I wanted to address some changes and clarify some misunderstandings. The room fell silent, all eyes on the hotel owner. First, effective immediately, we are terminating our relationship with Walsh PR. Mr. Walsh's recent actions have demonstrated a judgment unbecoming of someone representing the Hale Regent. Surprised murmurs rippled through the gathering. Evan had been with the hotel for years. Second, I want to clarify the situation regarding Mr. Reed's reassignment, Richard continued. The decision was made based on misinformation and manipulation of security footage. It was a mistake, and one I take full responsibility for. Elena watched the staff exchange glances. Some looked confused, others relieved. I've invited Mr. Reed to return to his position here, should he wish to, Richard announced. On his terms, with clear boundaries and protocols that protect everyone's professional dignity. More whispers, some nods of approval. Finally, Richard said, his voice growing more personal. I want to remind everyone what this hotel stands for. My wife, Elena's mother, believed that true luxury wasn't about appearance or exclusivity. It was about how we treat people. All people, with dignity, respect, and honesty. He looked around the room, meeting each person's gaze. That's the standard I want to uphold, not just in how we treat our guests, but in how we treat each other. If anyone has concerns about that standard not being met, my door is always open. As the meeting dispersed, Nina approached Elena. That was unexpected. Your father actually admitted he was wrong. Miracles happen, Elena said with a small smile. So what now? Nina asked. Will Marcus come back? I hope so, Elena replied. But it has to be his choice. No pressure, no special treatment. Nina studied her friend's face. You really care about him, don't you? More than I thought possible after such a short time, Elena admitted. Well, for what it's worth, Nina said. You two make sense together. In a way, you and Evan never did. Thank you, Elena said, surprised by how much her friend's approval meant. That means a lot. That afternoon, Elena drove across town again. This time, she had a purpose beyond apologies. She had a plan. She found Tasha's coffee shop easily. A small, bright space with local art on the walls and the rich scent of fresh brewed coffee in the air. Marcus had mentioned his sister worked here when she wasn't caring for their mother. Tasha looked up from behind the counter, surprise registering on her face when she recognized Elena. 2 visits in one day, she said. Must be important. It is, Elena confirmed. Is your break coming up soon? I'd like to talk to you. 20 minutes later, they sat at a small table in the corner of the nearly empty shop. Elena explained everything. The meeting with her father, Evan's firing, the offer for Marcus to return on his terms. "So, you're here to convince me to convince him to come back?" Tasha asked, skepticism evident in her tone. "No," Elena replied. "I'm here because Marcus cares what you think, because your approval matters to him, and because I want you to know that I'm serious about your brother. This isn't a game or a phase or a rebellion." Tasha studied her carefully. "You come from different worlds." "Worlds can overlap," Elena said. "Besides, I'm more interested in building something new than trying to fit Marcus into my world or myself into his." "And your father? The hotel guests? The society people you grew up with? They'll all just accept this?" "Some will, some won't," Elena admitted. "But I've spent my whole life worrying about what others think. I'm done with that. What matters is what Marcus and I think, what we feel for each other." Tasha's expression softened slightly. "He's been happier this past week. Even with all the drama, that says something." "It says something to me too," Elena agreed. Tasha took a sip of her coffee, considering. "Our mom would like to meet you, if you're serious about sticking around." Elena felt a surge of hope. "I'd be honored to meet her." "Fair warning," Tasha said with a small smile. "She'll ask a million questions and tell you exactly what she thinks of your answers." "I wouldn't expect anything less," Elena replied. "After all, she raised two incredibly honest, direct children." Tasha laughed at that. "True enough." She paused, then added more seriously, "He deserves someone who sees him, really sees him. Not just what he can do or how he makes them feel, but who he is." "I'm working on that," Elena said. "Seeing all of him, not just the parts that fit my expectations or needs." "That's a good answer," Tasha admitted, finishing her coffee. "Look, I've got to get back to work, but Marcus finishes his shift at the Westside Hotel at 6. You should be there." "Thank you," Elena said sincerely. As she stood to leave, Tasha called after her. "Hey, Elena, he's showing up for you. Make sure you show up for him too." At 6:15 p.m., Elena waited in her car outside the Westside property, a smaller, less prestigious hotel in the Hale portfolio. Her stomach fluttered with nerves. Would Marcus be angry she'd come? Would he reject the offer to return? Would he reject her? She spotted him exiting the staff entrance, still in his security uniform. He looked tired, but carried himself with the same quiet dignity she'd noticed from the first day. When he saw her car, he paused briefly, then approached. Elena rolled down the window. "Hi?" "Hi," he replied, his expression cautious. "What brings you across town?" "You," she said simply. "Can we talk?" Marcus glanced around the parking lot. "Not here. There's a coffee shop around the corner." The coffee shop was small and cozy, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. They found a quiet table in the back, away from other customers. "I met with my father this morning," Elena began. "Showed him everything. The evidence against Evan, the setup, all of it." "And?" Marcus prompted. "Evan's fired," she said. "Permanently. And Dad wants to offer you your job back at the main hotel, on your terms, hours, clear boundaries, whatever you need to feel respected." Marcus absorbed this information, his expression thoughtful. "That's unexpected." "He made a mistake," Elena said. "We all did, but he's trying to make it right." "And you?" Marcus asked quietly. "What are you trying to do?" Elena took a deep breath. "I'm trying to be brave, to choose what matters, not what's easy, to show up for the people I care about." "The people you care about," Marcus repeated, studying her face. "You," she clarified.
I care about you, Marcus. More than I thought possible after such a short time. I want to see where this goes. No hiding, no hesitation, just us figuring it out together. A small smile touched his lips. I care about you, too. So what do you think? Elena asked. About coming back? Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering. I'd need some changes. Clear protocols for the security team. No more shifting schedules without notice. And written clarification about access permissions. Done, Elena agreed immediately. And us? He asked. What happens there? Whatever we want to happen, she said. But in the open. No secrets, no sneaking around. Marcus reached across the table, taking her hand in his. I can work with that. Relief washed over Elena. Really? Really, he confirmed. But there's one more thing I need to know. What's that? Did you meet my sister today, at her coffee shop? Elena's eyes widened in surprise. How did you know? Marcus laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Tasha texted me, said, and I quote, your hotel girl showed up. She's not terrible. High praise, I assume? The highest, he assured her. She mentioned something about dinner with our mom. If that's something you want, Elena said carefully. It is, Marcus confirmed, squeezing her hand. It's time you met the family that shaped me, if you're ready for that. I'd love to meet your mother, Elena said sincerely. Something shifted in Marcus's expression, a softening, a deepening of connection. Thank you for fighting for me, he said quietly. For us. Always, she promised. The following evening, Marcus returned to his position at the Hale Regent. Elena watched from the lobby as he arrived for his shift, security badge gleaming against his dark uniform. The staff greeted him warmly, Nina with a genuine smile, the custodian with a friendly nod, Mrs. Ortiz with obvious delight. There's my favorite guard, the older woman exclaimed, approaching from the elevator bank. I told Mr. Hale he simply had to bring you back. The other young man was perfectly fine, but he didn't check my newspaper or remember my tea preference. Marcus smiled. It's good to be back, Mrs. Ortiz. And your Earl Grey will be delivered at 9 p.m. as usual. Such a thoughtful young man, Mrs. Ortiz said, patting his arm. She turned to Elena with a knowing smile. You were right to insist on his return, dear. Quality is so rare these days. Elena felt a blush warming her cheeks. Marcus is certainly that, Mrs. Ortiz. The older woman looked between them, her eyes twinkling. Well, I'm glad to see at least one Hale knows a treasure when she finds one. Your mother would approve. As Mrs. Ortiz departed, Elena stepped closer to Marcus. She knows, she said quietly. She sees things, Marcus agreed. Most people do, if they're paying attention. Does that bother you? Elena asked. Marcus shook his head. I told you, I won't be a secret. If people see that I care about you, that's fine with me. The question is, does it bother you? No, Elena said firmly. In fact, she took a deep breath, then reached for his hand, squeezing it briefly in the open lobby. I want people to know. A slow smile spread across Marcus's face. Brave indeed, Ms. Hale. I'm learning, she replied with a smile of her own. Over the following days, a new normal emerged. Elena and Marcus maintained professionalism at work, but no longer hid their growing connection. They took lunch breaks together in the staff lounge. They exchanged smiles across the lobby. Small, public acknowledgments of what was developing between them. The whispers continued, but changed in tone. Less scandal, more curiosity. Less judgment, more acceptance. Richard observed from a distance, saying little but nodding in approval when he saw Marcus handle a difficult guest with grace, or spot a potential safety issue before it became a problem. The hotel adjusted, as hotels always do. People came and went. Life continued. And in the quiet spaces between obligations, Elena and Marcus built something neither had expected to find. A week after Marcus's return, Elena met his mother, Delia Reed. The older woman sat in a comfortable wheelchair in the small but cozy living room of the Reed home, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun, her eyes sharp and intelligent despite her physical limitations. "So you're the hotel girl," Delia said, studying Elena with unabashed curiosity. "Tasha says you're not what she expected." "Mom," Marcus warned gently. "It's okay," Elena assured him, turning back to Delia. "I'm probably not what I expected either, Mrs. Reed." That earned a smile from the older woman. "Call me Delia, please. And sit down. Tell me how you met my son." Elena shared the story, the honest version, including her initial prejudice and Marcus's kindness during her panic attack. Delia listened without interruption, her expression thoughtful. "Most people hide the ugly parts," she observed when Elena finished. "Try to make themselves look better." "I promised Marcus honesty," Elena explained. "That includes being honest about my mistakes." Delia nodded slowly, approval warming her gaze. "My husband left without a word. Just gone one day, no explanation, no goodbye. Taught my children a hard lesson about people who hide truth." "I'm sorry," Elena said quietly. "Don't be," Delia replied. "His leaving showed my children what not to be, and look how they turned out." She reached for Marcus's hand, squeezing it affectionately. "This one gave up his dreams to come home when I got sick. Never complained, not once. Just showed up every day. That's love." "Yes," Elena agreed, her eyes meeting Marcus's across the room. "It is." Later, as they prepared dinner together in the small kitchen, Marcus cooking, Elena helping where she could, he nudged her gently with his elbow. "She likes you," he said quietly. The art critique was a dead giveaway. Delia had insisted on showing Elena her son's paintings, pointing out his technique with obvious pride, before offering sharp but loving critiques of each piece. "The light's beautiful, but the perspective on that building is off," she'd noted on one. "And this shadow needs more depth. Otherwise, it's quite good." "She's amazing," Elena said sincerely. "I see where you and Tasha get your honesty." "And our stubbornness," Marcus added with a smile. "That too," Elena agreed, leaning against his shoulder briefly. "Thank you for sharing your family with me." He looked down at her, his expression soft. "Thank you for wanting to know them." In that small kitchen, with the sounds of Tasha and Delia chatting in the next room, Elena felt something settle within her. A certainty she hadn't expected to find so quickly. The knowledge that these people, this man, this honest love, was what she'd been searching for, without knowing it. The following weekend, Richard invited them both to dinner at his home. The invitation had come through Elena, carefully worded. "I'd like to get to know Marcus better. No hotel talk, just dinner." Marcus had accepted with equal care. "As long as it's just dinner, not an interview or an evaluation." Now they sat around Richard's formal dining table, a setting that had hosted dignitaries and business moguls, but rarely felt as important as it did tonight. Richard had made an effort. The menu featured Marcus's favorite foods. Elena had helped there. The conversation stayed deliberately away from hotel business, and most importantly, Richard listened more than he spoke. He asked about Marcus's family, his painting, his interests. Genuine questions seeking to understand, not assess. "Elena mentioned you studied as an EMT," Richard said as they finished the main course. "What drew you to that work?" Marcus considered the question. "I like helping people through hard moments," he said finally. "Being the steady presence when everything feels chaotic." Richard nodded thoughtfully. That's a rare quality. Most people either freeze in crisis or get caught up in the drama. My mom taught us to be the calm in the storm, Marcus explained, to help without making it about ourselves. Wise woman, Richard observed. She is, Marcus agreed. She'd like this house, by the way. Said you can tell a lot about people by their spaces, the art they choose, the books they keep. Richard glanced around at the modern, somewhat austere decor. And what would she say about me, based on this place? That you value order and legacy, Marcus replied honestly, but that you're missing a human touch. Richard's eyebrows rose, but he didn't seem offended. Perceptive. She'd point to those empty walls, Marcus continued, gesturing to the large blank spaces in the dining room. Say they're waiting for new stories, new memories. Richard looked thoughtful. My wife used to say something similar, that a house needs heartbeats to become a home. Smart woman, Marcus said with a small smile. The smartest, Richard agreed. Elena has her compassion, her ability to see beyond the surface. Elena, who had been quietly observing this exchange, felt unexpected tears prick her eyes. It was the highest compliment her father could give. Later, as Richard poured after dinner drinks in the living room, he grew more reflective. I owe you an apology, Marcus. I acted based on appearances rather than truth. That's not the kind of man I want to be. I appreciate that, Marcus replied. But what matters more is what kind of man you choose to be moving forward. Richard nodded, the brass compass now resting on the coffee table between them. A fair point. My wife would have liked you, I think. She had little patience for pretense. From what Elena's told me, Marcus said, I would have liked her too. The evening ended with a handshake, warmer than their first, filled with newfound respect. As they rode the elevator down to the parking garage, Elena slipped her hand into Marcus's. That went better than I expected, she admitted. Your father's trying, Marcus observed. That's all anyone can ask. In the car, Elena reached into her purse, removing the small brass compass. I want you to have this, she said, placing it in Marcus's palm. Your grandmother's compass? Elena, I can't. My mother gave it to my father when they were dating, she explained. She said it was for when hearts need direction. She closed his fingers around the small brass object. Find me when I get lost. Marcus's expression softened. I will, he promised. Always. As weeks passed, their relationship deepened. They established routines, dinners at his place when he was off, weekend breakfasts at her favorite cafe, quiet walks through the city park where Marcus sketched landscapes while Elena read beside him. The hotel adjusted to their relationship without fanfare. Professional boundaries remained clear. Personal connections grew stronger. When Elena had a minor panic attack during a particularly stressful board presentation, Marcus was there afterward with tea and steady breathing. When his mother needed unexpected medical treatment, Elena rearranged schedules to ensure he could be there. They learned each other's rhythms, preferences, vulnerabilities. The way Marcus organized everything when stressed. The way Elena retreated into work when overwhelmed. His love for old jazz music. Her collection of international cookbooks. The quiet strength that ran through both of them, expressed in different ways. One evening, nearly 2 months after that first fall in the stairwell, they found themselves back where it began. The service stairs were quiet, emergency lights casting soft shadows along the concrete steps. Feels strange, Elena said, looking down the stairwell. Being back here. Good strange or bad strange? Marcus asked. Good, I think, she replied. It's where everything changed. Marcus took her hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. Want to try it again? See if you've still got those cat-like reflexes? Elena laughed, swatting his arm playfully. Very funny. She took a tentative step, testing her weight on the stair where she'd fallen. No slipping this time. I've got you if you do, Marcus said, his voice warm. She turned to face him, struck by how much had changed in such a short time. How a single moment, a fall, a helping hand, a steady voice guiding her breathing, had altered the course of her life. You know, she said softly, I used to think the bravest thing was handling everything alone, never showing weakness, never needing help. And now? Marcus prompted. Now I think the bravest thing is letting someone see you, really see you, without filters or pretense, trusting them with the real you. Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. It's scary. Terrifying, Elena agreed, but worth it. He leaned forward, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. Definitely worth it. They continued down the stairs together, no longer afraid of falling or of being caught. No secrets, no hiding, just two people choosing each other with open eyes and honest hearts. Weeks turned to months. Summer faded to autumn, leaves turning gold and crimson in the city parks where they walked. The hotel's daily rhythms continued, guests arriving and departing, staff meetings and inventory checks, the constant dance of luxury service that Elena had grown up watching. But Elena herself had changed. She moved through the hotel with new awareness, noticing the maintenance worker's family photo on his toolbox, learning the night auditor's dream of opening a bookstore, asking the housekeeping staff about their children by name. The hotel was still her responsibility, but no longer her entire identity. Marcus had changed too. He'd been promoted to security team lead, implementing new training protocols and safety measures that Richard had readily approved. His quiet confidence had grown, his natural leadership recognized and rewarded. They faced challenges, of course. Whispers still followed them sometimes. Occasional guests made comments or assumptions. A board member questioned Elena's objectivity when Marcus proposed a security upgrade. But these moments no longer held the power they once had. One evening, in late October, they stood together on the hotel rooftop, looking out over the city lights. The space had become their special place, where they met during breaks, where they watched sunsets on Marcus's days off, where they found moments of peace amid busy lives. I have something for you, Marcus said, reaching into his pocket. He withdrew a small velvet box. Elena's heart quickened. Marcus! It's not a ring, he clarified with a smile. Not yet, anyway. It's something else. He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver key on a simple chain. A key? Elena asked. To my apartment, Marcus explained. Tasha's moving in with her boyfriend next month. I'll have the place to myself. Are you asking me to move in with you? Elena's voice was soft with surprise. I'm asking you to consider it, he replied. Not right away. When you're ready. If you're ready. Elena took the key, its weight small, but significant in her palm. It's a big step. It is, Marcus agreed. But I think we're good at big steps. Brave ones. Elena slipped the chain over her head, the key resting against her heart. I'll think about it. Seriously. That's all I ask, he said, drawing her close. As they stood together under the October sky, Elena thought about choices. The choice her father had made to hire Marcus despite her objections. The choice she'd made to apologize, to be honest about her prejudice. The choices they'd both made to stand firm, to fight for respect, to build something real in the face of judgment and doubt. Love wasn't the dramatic rescue she'd once imagined. It was quieter, steadier. A hand guiding her breathing when panic struck. A note left in an empty locker. A compass passed from generation to generation. It was showing up, day after day, choosing each other in the open, being brave enough to be seen, flaws and all. "I think I'm ready," she said finally, her voice sure. "Not immediately, but soon. I want to build a life with you, Marcus, one step at a time." His smile was bright enough to rival the city lights. One step at a time. 2 months later, on a crisp December evening, the Hale Regent Hotel glowed with holiday decorations. Garlands wrapped the grand staircase, tiny lights twinkled from potted evergreens, and soft music filled the lobby. Elena crossed the marble floor, nodding to staff members as she passed. Her designer dress was elegant but comfortable, her hair styled simply. At 30, she carried herself with a confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was and what mattered. The elderly concierge handed her an envelope. "From your father, Ms. Hale. He said it's important." Inside, Elena found a short note in her father's precise handwriting. "Darling, something came up at the West Side property. Don't wait for me at the party. Proud of the woman you've become. Love always, Dad." A postscript had been added. The compass found its way home. Elena smiled, tucking the note into her purse. Her father had changed too, delegating more, prioritizing people over profits, finding a balance he'd lost after her mother's death. Movement caught her eye. Marcus entering through the main doors, handsome in his dark suit. No security uniform tonight. This was a night off, a celebration. Mrs. Ortiz, seated in her usual lobby chair, spotted him first. "Marcus, dear, don't you look dashing?" He smiled, bending to kiss the older woman's cheek. "Thank you, Mrs. Ortiz. Will you be joining the staff holiday party?" "Wouldn't miss it," she assured him. "Best event of the year now that Elena's in charge of planning." Marcus looked up, his eyes finding Elena across the lobby. The way he looked at her still made her heart skip, like she was the most important person in the room, the only one who truly mattered. "There she is," he said, moving toward her. "The heart of this place." Elena met him halfway, professional distance forgotten as she slipped her hand into his. "Ready for the party?" "Almost," he replied. He nodded toward the massive lobby window, their calming spot from those early days. "Can we take a moment first?" They stood together at the window, the city spread out before them in a tapestry of holiday lights. Marcus's arm encircled her waist, warm and secure. "1 year ago," he said quietly, "I was starting a new job, worried about making ends meet, helping my sister with Mom. I never imagined I'd find you." "I never imagined I'd find myself," Elena replied, leaning against his shoulder. "Or that finding myself would mean finding you too." Marcus turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. "These past months have been the best of my life, even with the challenges, even with the whispers, because we faced them together." "Always together," Elena agreed. The brass compass hung from a chain around Marcus's neck, glinting in the lobby lights. He touched it briefly, then reached into his pocket. "I had a different plan for this," he admitted. "Something more elaborate, but standing here, where we first really saw each other, it feels right." When he knelt, Elena's breath caught in her throat. "Elena Hale," Marcus said, his voice steady as he opened a small velvet box. "Will you marry me? Choose me, every day, just as we are?" The ring was simple but beautiful, a single diamond in a vintage setting. Not flashy, not grand, but perfect in its sincerity. "Yes," Elena whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Every day, just as we are." As Marcus slipped the ring onto her finger, a smattering of applause broke out. Nina stood nearby, grinning widely. Mrs. Ortiz dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. Several staff members watched from a respectful distance, smiles on their faces. "I think we have an audience," Marcus murmured, rising to his feet. "Good," Elena replied, unashamed of her tears or her joy. "No hiding, remember?" Their kiss was witnessed by those who had watched their story unfold, had seen prejudice transform into understanding, caution into trust, hesitation into certainty, had seen two people choose each other, openly and honestly, day after day. Later, as the holiday party filled with laughter and music, Elena found herself watching Marcus across the room. He was deep in conversation with the maintenance team, his expression animated as he described something with his hands. So at ease, so himself, no matter the setting. Nina appeared at her elbow, champagne glasses in hand. "To the future, Mrs. Reed?" she offered, passing a glass to Elena. "To finding the right direction," Elena countered, touching her glass to Nina's. "Your mother would be proud," Nina said softly, "of who you've become, of the choices you've made." "I think so too," Elena agreed. She glanced down at her engagement ring, then across the room at her fiancé. "The most important choice was being brave enough to admit when I was wrong, to apologize and mean it." "And the second most important?" Nina asked. Elena smiled, her heart full. "Choosing love in the open. No secrets, no hiding, no shame. Just two people building something real, one day at a time." Across the room, Marcus looked up, his eyes finding hers with unerring precision. Even in a crowded room, they could always find each other. His smile warmed her from across the space. A promise kept, a future beginning, a compass pointing true. Real love grows where humility lives. The bravest act isn't a dramatic rescue. It's telling the truth, apologizing without defense, and choosing each other in the open. When dignity leads, families soften and futures open. Every day, a choice. Every moment, a possibility. Every honest word, a bridge to somewhere new. And together, they would cross it.